The room fell silent as the lawyer unfolded the will. My sister's smirk widened when she heard the words, "Everything goes to her." I felt the weight of betrayal crushing me, not just from her greed, but from years of being dismissed, overlooked, and treated as though my voice didn't matter. But then, something no one expected surfaced. A single, hidden letter, tucked away in an old envelope, threatened to unravel every lie, every injustice, and every ounce of her victory. What that letter revealed would turn grief into justice, and silence into a reckoning. The day of the will reading was heavy with grief. My father had passed away just weeks earlier, leaving behind not only memories but also decades of unspoken struggles. He had always been the quiet protector in a world that judged us by the color of our skin. My sister, on the other hand, had long aligned herself with those who looked down on me, distancing herself from our heritage, our roots, and me. Growing up, I endured subtle and sharp moments of racism. At family gatherings, relatives whispered comments about my darker skin, comparing me to her as though I were the flawed one. She basked in their approval, reinforcing the idea that I was somehow less deserving. Over the years, she claimed opportunities meant for both of us, presenting herself as the respectable one. When my father passed, she made no secret of her confidence. She flaunted her closeness to him, dismissing me as if I were nothing more than a footnote in his life. By the time we gathered in that sterile office, with the lawyer shuffling papers, she looked certain that everything, the estate, the house, the savings, would be hers. And when the words confirmed her belief, her smirk grew unbearable. But the lawyer hesitated, reaching for a separate envelope. He explained it had been discovered with my father's personal documents, sealed and addressed only to be read after the official will. That single envelope would change the trajectory of everything. The lawyer unfolded the aged paper with careful hands. My sister rolled her eyes, impatient, already considering herself the sole heir. To her, the letter was probably sentimental nonsense, a relic of a man she thought had favored her above all else. But the letter wasn't just a farewell. It was a confession. In it, my father spoke of a truth long buried. How he had seen the discrimination I endured, not only from society but within our own family. He wrote about how ashamed he was of his silence when relatives mocked me, when opportunities were stolen, when my sister played into the bias for her own advantage. He admitted that he had chosen on paper to leave everything to her only to protect me from the ugliness he knew she carried inside her. He feared that if he openly gave me what I deserved, she would use her influence to tear me down in ways that went beyond money. But he left this letter with instructions. Once read, it would serve as testimony to his true intentions. He detailed bank accounts in my name, property quietly secured, and investments he had shielded from her reach. Everything she believed she owned was not hers to keep. My sister's smirk faltered. Her face flushed as the lawyer continued. Each line revealed how her greed and complicity in racial prejudice had not gone unnoticed. Father wrote of watching me work harder, carry heavier burdens, and face cruelties she never would. He wanted the world to know he had seen me, even if too often, he had stayed silent. Tears stung my eyes as I realized the letter wasn't just about inheritance. It was an acknowledgement of the years I had fought to exist in spaces where I was constantly diminished. The lawyer, bound by the legal addendum, explained that the assets were to be divided according to the instructions in the letter, effectively stripping my sister of the monopoly she thought she had secured. Her hands trembled. She demanded explanations, claimed it was unfair, even threatened to contest the letter. But every piece of evidence was airtight. Notarized accounts, recorded transfers, and witnesses who had helped him establish the safeguards. The injustice I had lived with for so long was unraveling right before her eyes. The room erupted in chaos as my sister lunged for the letter, screaming that it was forged, a lie, an act of desperation. But the lawyer remained calm, presenting document after document that corroborated Father's words. Her cries shifted from arrogance to desperation, the kind that exposes someone's true character. All her life, she had been shielded by privilege, not just as the favored child, but as the one who fit neatly into a world that praised lighter skin, polished appearances, and assimilation. And now all of it was slipping away. I sat there, trembling but resolute, watching as the very walls she had built to exclude me came crashing down. The wealth she clung to had been nothing but an illusion of control. The truth was undeniable. Father had seen her cruelty. He had seen the racism she embraced to belittle me. And in his final act, he had stripped her of the power she thought she would wield forever. Her screams echoed in the office, but I no longer felt small, silenced, or invisible. For once, I wasn't the shadow in the room. I was the one standing in the light of truth, holding the weight of justice my father had entrusted me with. When the meeting ended, I stepped out into the cool air, the world feeling heavier yet freer. The money and property mattered, yes, but what mattered more was the validation. My father had finally spoken, even if through ink on fragile paper. My sister's empire of entitlement had collapsed, and with it, the years of smug superiority she wielded like a weapon. I didn't need revenge in the form of words or actions. The truth had spoken for itself. But what lingered with me most wasn't her downfall. It was the reminder that silence in the face of racism is its own betrayal. My father's letter was both a gift and a confession, a recognition of what I endured and an apology for not defending me sooner. I thought of every viewer hearing this story. How many times have you been overlooked? How many times has someone taken what was yours because the world judged you unworthy? This wasn't just about inheritance. It was about justice long delayed but not denied. And as I walked away from that office, I realized something powerful. Sometimes, the truth doesn't just set you free. It exposes those who thrived in the shadows of injustice. So I ask you, if faced with betrayal wrapped in privilege, would you stay silent, or would you demand the truth be heard?